Welcome to another Neditor tutorial. This video is a continuation from the previous video where we covered what Neditor is and how to get started. If you would like to take a look at that, click on the card on the top right of the video. This video will be covering how to create a Nedit, what are good practices when creating a Nedit, and a brief understanding on how a website's request and network system works so that you can more efficiently create Nedits. So let's get started. For this tutorial, we'll be sticking with the same website that we were working before, which is Bloomberg Technology, which is a news site that, like many out there, prevents you from reading their articles through paywalls. So if we go to one of their articles, here's the paywall. So to get started creating your own Nedits, you'll want to click on Inspect, right click, and then click on Inspect, and then head to Neditor on the top header of the Inspect bar. On the panel, like on the pop-up, both show you the information for the current Nedit, but unlike the pop-up, it also gives you an option to name the Nedit so that anyone else hoping to utilize your Nedit will know what it's about, and additionally it allows you to alter the name of the Nedit for yourself permanently so that you have a better idea of what a Nedit that you might have picked up does. Beneath that is a reminder to hard reload. Now, why do I keep insisting? Because without hard reloading, you will not receive all of the requests, all of the network requests coming into the site, as some requests will be stored in the cache or in the storage. So it's very important to hard reload if you want to receive all of the requests. Beneath that, link to the video tutorials like this one, and then beneath that there is a clear site data option which you can turn on and off for your Nedit, which will allow you to empty out the cache for the site and the storage as a whole for only the specific site. That means no other site will be affected outside of the domain bloomberg.com. As this Nedit will, whatever Nedits you create here within bloomberg.com will apply to all sites under bloomberg.com. But be careful with this option, because if you are signed in, or if you do have some important things already stored on the site, then all of that stuff will be cleared because you check this box. So just be considerate when selecting this box. Another thing to note is that this option is not available for all browsers. Beneath the clear site data, there is a filter and requests portion. Both of these deal with similar aspects to the Neditor toolset. Both of them edit the way requests come into a site. So what are these requests? These network requests that I keep on mentioning. These requests are sort of what make up a site. A site is sort of a pot of many links coming together and building what you see here. So if you can edit out some of those requests, you can make certain things disappear, as they all correlate with something on the site. Now that you have a simple understanding on what requests are, we can move on to a visual demonstration of what they are, which Neditor provides. Over here at the bottom, you'll find a table that will show all of the requests that the site has made. So if we hard refresh, we can get a fresh table and get all of the requests that are being sent to the site. So although these requests, the URL might be very hard to read, we provide different columns so that you can get a better and more concise understanding of what each one does. So to add columns, you just click on the add column and you can add any type of column. For example, you can add a type column, which will show you the different types of files that are being sent here and the types of the requests. Like for example, we can filter out all the CSS, and we can also find that there are some JavaScript files over here. You can filter all of them out like so. Maybe some JPEGs. This should remove all the images. But how would we remove all of the images? We could click on each one of them individually, or we could use the button on the top, which should block everything that is being shown on the table at that moment. Let's go ahead and block this. But hold on a minute, we're only filtering out the JPEG files, not the image files. So let's change that to image. There we go. Now this should be blocking all of the image files, which we were missing some. We were missing some SVGs as well. So let's go ahead and block all of them, make sure they're all blocked. And now when we refresh, it should not show any images. As you could have been able to tell, there was a very large number of requests happening, so this site may not be the best for testing things out, as it may be a little overwhelming. But as you can tell, we did successfully block what seems to be a vast majority of the images. As you can tell, there's no images being shown as they were all blocked. The website wasn't able to get it, and there was one image that managed to get through. And as you can tell over here, there are images that are getting through. Now, how are they getting through? Well, that's because we blocked the individual URLs. As we can see here, these were actually blocked, but now it's generating what seems to be new images with different like codes, I guess you can call them. So how would we deal with this whenever new images are being generated with unpredictable codes? That's what the filter feature is for. This allows you to filter out anything based on the URL. So as you can tell, many of these files all follow the same kind of pattern, which is they all have images within their URL. So if we were to block that, it would block all of these images coming in. Now, what happened with all of the files that we blocked? How come we can't see them? It isn't because they were completely blocked, because this does pick up before they are blocked. What happens is when we block them, they transform into a different kind of file, which is described as X unknown. So you just search up for X unknown and you can see all the files that were blocked here. So if we just unblock all of them, we should be able to render all of the images, but we won't do that now. But instead, what we will be doing is, instead of blocking each one of these individually, we will block them here in the filter by adding the /images/, which should block every URL that contains /images/. So let's go ahead and reload with that being done. And now I don't think that any images should be shown. Now we fast forwarded through the loading because it did take much longer than expected, but here we are. Moving onward, when we want to move on to creating a new Nedit, we're going to want to clear everything. And now when we reload, finally the page has loaded and we can continue on to getting rid of this paywall. So what we're going to want to do here is maybe separate the URLs into batches and see what batch actually does the desired result. And the reason we want to separate them into batches is that sometimes when you block all of them, things become catastrophically broken and it won't really tell too much about whether or not something can be blocked. We're looking to narrow down what is the source of this issue. So what you can do is you filter out through different aspects of the site. Like, you can also take a look at the headers, the time, maybe the priority. You can block everything that has a very high priority, but we'll stick with type for now. So we already saw that CSS didn't really help a lot, that the images didn't help either. So what we're going to try now is the JavaScript. We will block all the JavaScript files so that to see if maybe this is what's causing, if the JavaScript is what's causing the issue. So we're going to go ahead and block all of that. The site has now finished loading, as you can tell by the circle not going around anymore. And we can see that the wall is no longer blocking us and preventing us from reading the article, meaning that somewhere within the JavaScript type of file is what is preventing us from reading the article. So what we would want to do going on from here is trying to figure out which one of the JavaScript files that we blocked is the precise one that is creating the paywall. So what we can do is we can go to x unknown, which is what they default to when they get blocked, and we can try to go through these URLs and try to make sense of what's happening here. Or we could just reduce them to even smaller batches, maybe cutting this down to half, like by getting rid of around maybe half of the URLs that were blocked. And then if this doesn't work, then that means that the JavaScript files that are remaining that haven't been blocked are potentially the ones producing the wall. So we're just gonna work with this and let's see what happens. The site has now finished loading, and we can see that the wall is back. We cannot read the article anymore, meaning that none of the links that we blocked are the ones preventing the paywall. So we're just gonna unblock all of them and move on to the JavaScript files that are left and block all of those, because now we know that these are the files that are blocking the article. The site has finished loading, and as expected, the wall is no longer there to block us from reading the article. So what we would want to do now is, maybe we're satisfied with what we have here. We can see the picture, we got the whole article, and we got what we wanted. So we're just gonna save it under a name, like we're gonna call this one No More Paywall. And now it should be saved for anyone to pick up here. And there it is. No more paywall. But now what are all of these showing up below? These are the ones, the other Nedits that we created as we were loading our page. So here are all the tested Nedits that didn't really work out, and they're defaulted to one of these names. So what did we discuss in this video? We discussed how to create Nedits, and what are good practices, what are good ways of approaching creating a Nedit and achieving a result on the site with the Neditor toolbox. That is all we're going to cover on this video. But I do want to send you off with a bit of a challenge. As I was trying to figure out how to block the wall, I noticed that, well, for starters, the site takes a really long time to load. But whenever I blocked all of the JavaScript requests, the site was much quicker. Meaning something within JavaScript, something within the JavaScript files that it's requesting is slowing the page down drastically. So what I propose here is for you to find what file or what set of files is resulting in this slowdown of the page. Then once you've created your Neditor and named it, you should go into the comments and post the name of the Nedit so that anyone else who is interested in visiting Bloomberg but not have to wait a minute for the page to load will have access to it. That is it for this video. If you would like to download Neditor, you can search for it in your browser's extension store or look for it in the description below. Otherwise, if you're interested in having me make a Nedit for one of your sites, comment below. Thank you and see you next time.